Very good. I will call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? All right, very good. Do you want to comment on those correspondence?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that us administrators came and talked to the Big Sky Leadership Group when they held their course here, and we enjoyed that. Allison does a great job with the MSU Extension Office, and we enjoy getting to join them for that. And then I also appreciated the personal invitation to the Lady Cats game. They were wearing red to raise awareness for missing Indigenous women, and unfortunately I wasn't able to go because we also had activities going on, but appreciated their invite. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion items. Elementary building project. Shane Swandle is out of town this week. We had a meeting today. Construction is obviously underway on the 2 additional classrooms. Framing is done on the first floor. They will pour the concrete on Thursday for the deck. It'll be the floor of the second floor. And then next week they'll start framing that part up. So everything's moving right along there. I did talk to the elementary teachers a little bit this afternoon. Obviously, there's a little bit of noise impact on those 2 classrooms right next to them, but they seemed like they were still smiling a little bit. So
yeah, they're making adjustments and moving.
I know the big tower playground equipment has been a question that we've been researching because of moving the 2 classrooms. Had to verify that the fall zones for that piece, we're still meeting code. That has finally been determined, so that piece will go up this spring. We had to wait for that, and also, of course, they had to be able to access those 2 classrooms with the crane and all that. So, but the big tower piece will go up. At this point, I'll just say it'll be there for school to start next year. Would be the safe answer to that. Other than that, still doing punch list items. They've got a couple meetings later this week and next week, just trying to sort out some of the data stuff. I know our 2 tech individuals have been part of that conversation. So they're going to work through those items and get them cleaned up, and still doing some other punch list items, throughout all phases of the project. But it is winding down. Like I said, hopefully when we start school next year, other than our roof project, we'll be hopefully somewhat free of construction for a while. Any other questions on that? Okay. Committee meeting reports. I guess I'll take the first one. Negotiations. We did start the first negotiations meeting with the certified staff a little over a week ago, just kind of a preliminary meeting. Started talking about mostly just some language in the current agreement that needs cleaned up. From the board side, we actually have Montana School Boards Association looking at it from a more legal perspective to make sure that it truly says what it should say, and again, clean up that. We've noticed that document has been changed, and sometimes sentences aren't even complete because they got edited and they didn't finish that. So hoping to clean that up, and we set another date. I forgot to write it down, but sometime in March We will also open negotiations with the classified staff and also be reaching out to administration here shortly to set up those meetings as well. From there, I'll let you take the other ones.
Okay, Sherry, do you want to share out anything, major highlights from the technology meeting?
Yeah, I kind of had on mine too, so that's great. We had a tech committee meeting. We had quite a long agenda, actually. There was a lot of stuff that stacked up on it, and Jill, feel free to chime right in there if anything I don't remember or you feel need highlighted. We did spend some time talking about bring your own device policies, what those look like. I know Luke sent out some policies he found from different places. Definitely had a good discussion about potentially maybe in the upper grades, at some point switching from using only Chromebooks to more laptop scenarios where they have a lot more applications and capabilities that they can do with those kids that are in those upper level classes. And maybe, and we have talked about this before as well, with opportunities for potentially those kids to actually try to buy out those laptops or those devices when they get to the end of their, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, anything like that, because we know the Chromebook cycled out every 5 years anyways. So just updates on printers. We've had some people getting kicked out of their printers. I'm probably one of the worst ones in Astro. And there's just something going on with, it's a common issue, as Joe said, with lots of schools are having the same problem. So just working for solutions for that. What else, guys? I know there was we talked about carousel software, but we're waiting. What are we waiting on again?
Waiting on bids for the TVs that.
That's right. We were looking at
Yeah,
TVs.
more players potentially.
Okay.
I know that Joe Horn's been kind of spearheaded that and taken that on because that's been kind of his baby.
And Carousel is a big software program we use to run
Yes, that's
like TVs in the lobby, the big TV. Yeah.
The interior digital signage.
Right.
Um,
Right. Anything else, guys? We talked
Yeah,
about a lot of
highlights.
things.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is on the BYOD, I reached out to Chris Goss, and he looked at our policies, and he listed two, I think, that he thought covered it pretty well. And I sent those policies to Susie and Sean, so if we want to make any changes, that's where he would recommend.
I think the biggest issue for bringing their own devices, the security on our servers, the capability, with what we operate with now, we have a lot of control over what the kids are able to access and see and use while on our school devices. And so I think a lot of that changes when we're looking at their own devices. So,
very much so.
yeah.
It's
Just
an
trying to
important
cover all the
policy
bases
that I
there.
think needs to be addressed.
Is this like, do they bring their own computers, or is it mostly just like their phones?
We're talking laptop, like bringing their own
laptops.
laptops. The problem with the Chromebooks are, they're fine for a lot of applications, but they don't work well for anything with they don't work exclusively with like Microsoft. Some of these other programs they need for like drafting classes, some of Joe Horn's business classes, they use a lot of different softwares and applications, and the Chromebooks are really tough to use. Even MTDA, like Montana Digital Academy, some applications they can do fine with Chromebook, but then they get to pieces that they can't even access or write reports or anything on. It just doesn't interface with everything. So trying to open that up for some of the kids that might be using a little bit more technology and capabilities and different software programs. And anything else to add to that? Is that pretty much the gist of it? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty much it. Talking about making some plans. I know Sean wanted us to talk about some like cybersecurity policies and where we are with security and all of that. And that's definitely linked to all of our safety committee meetings. And that's an area that we do need to revisit. We haven't talked about it in a while. So I think that's it.
And then as far as the safety committee meeting went, we were further ahead than we thought. We were able to locate the plan that had been done with Mike. Help me with the last name. Conkey, thank you. And we had a lot of the components in there that OPI and the Safe Schools Center recommends. So we just need to do some updating. I was working on that today. We hope to have that to the safety committee of the board very soon. And then on the March board agenda. for adoption. And then our PAR day in March, we will review that with staff as well. And we'll be finalizing the plans for the upcoming PIR day here shortly. And we have a curriculum committee meeting for February 28th at 6 o'clock. We talked a little bit last night about some of our curriculums and the ages of those. So that's it for committees.
Okay. Any questions on that? I guess I do want to add, for mostly people on the camera, we do have 2 board members that are joining remotely, so we do have our quorum that is necessary, but they are on the computer tonight. But we do have 2 board members remotely joining the meeting, so. Very good. We will move on to the consent action items, minutes and warrants.
I'll move to approve the warrants as presented in the minutes.
I'll second that. It's been approved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, approve of retirement incentives for 2022-2023 year.
So I typed up the retirement incentives as you have had them before. So there's 2 at $15,000, which does cost the district a bit more than that in total. And it follows the same process that the board has used in the past. However, I just want to remind everyone that, I know that this has kind of become a practice and there's been a bit of a precedent set, but the point of retirement incentives is to be used for budget monitoring and to keep an eye on those high salary positions and how many people we have at the top of the salary matrix. So something to keep in mind and to use as a budgeting tool, not generally offered every year, but that has been the practice here. So we have approximately 11 staff at the very top of the salary matrix from my review. So just something to keep in mind. For next year, if you want to continue doing these, or even this year, it's up to you, how you'd like to move forward. If you'd like to do the 2 at $15,000 again, or if you want to consider doing more at a smaller value, or keep that value and increase it to more. As we have also talked about, we do have a lot of long-lasting staff, which is awesome for the incredible experience and that wealth of knowledge we have in the district. But we will get to a point where we might see quite a bit of turnover and things in the future. We have quite a few at that retirement eligible level. So I will let you guys discuss how you'd like to move forward with that.
Excuse me, Susie, can you hear me?
Yes.
There was a comment in there about additional costs involved. And could you describe a little bit about that?
Yeah. And Pam and Casey could probably speak to that better than I can. I just know that when it's all said and done, there is an additional, depending on the person's rates and everything with retirement, the way that it shakes out, we actually end up spending closer to $20,000, somewhere around there. I can get you guys the exact number if you'd like.
Okay. Now that applies to, there is a phrase in here about it is not inclusive any retirement contribution that might be required of the district. And that would be I mean, the retirement contribution would be a part of that. I guess I don't understand what that sentence is referring to.
In the actual retirement documents?
Yes, in the, yeah. In the early retirement incentive, down in the second paragraph under benefit.
Oh, yeah, it does say that that's excluded.
So it's not inclusive of any retirement contribution. What exactly are they talking about there?
I'm gonna take a stab at this.
Yeah,
I'm not-
please.
I'm not 100% sure, but, my understanding is any dollars that we pay, to a teacher is subject to the money that goes towards their retirement. So even like this $15,000 that we pay as an incentive, retirement dollars have to be attached to that. And so my understanding is there's a portion of the retirement because of the additional money that has to go into their retirement account because those are dollars paid to them by the
Okay.
district.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's included as income into their retirement and probably included in their
Correct.
TA uses use a high 3 model. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's average. That's included in their average. Okay.
yeah. And so that's why we actually end up paying more because we still have to pay out, the costs associated with each dollar we pay salary, just like salary to a teacher.
Okay. All right. And then the next sentence says the incentive payment may or may not be used to supplement retirement benefits from Montana TRS in the form of termination pay conversions. That seems a bit ambiguous. It may or may not be used to supplement retirement benefits. I guess, how does that work?
I believe,
Go ahead.
I believe what they're referring to is that the teacher does not have to, teacher has the option of just taking that money or getting it wrapped into their 3-year average, basically. So it would not, they don't have to, my understanding is they do not have to have that be considered as part of their average. Does that make sense?
So that's at the discretion of the retiring teacher then?
Yes, as to how that is paid out.
Right, because their regular retirement is paid out over time. But we're giving them the option to take this $15,000 in one lump sum rather than having it go into their retirement and be divided out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you have anything to add
it's
to that?
And some may choose-
financially a much better deal to have it put into your retirement.
Right.
It'll makes it very
So it
significant.
gives them. the
Okay.
option.
Right, they have the option to take
They could
this,
just
whereas
take
they
that,
can't
yeah.
take their
Yes,
total retirement. So I think that's why the statement is in there.
Okay. Okay. Should there be something in there that says, where it says may or may not be used to supplement the retirement benefits at the discretion of the teacher? Or who, I mean, it's not really clear how that happens, who makes that decision. Or does that need to be in there?
Now you're getting into lawyer speak.
yeah, and I actually believe that's probably, I was always under the impression that's not necessary because that's covered by
The law,
the law.
where it referenced the code right there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because those are elections you have to make with TRS.
I know that TRS is the one that created this document, and I just changed the dates and the amount according to what you
Okay.
guys wish.
All right, that's, okay.
So are we in a position to be okay offering these two incentives? Or?
We did budget for it, yes. Mhm.
The question has come up is, whether we wanted, with the higher load of upper matrix people, do we want to do more or do less? I mean, that is an option. We're not stuck with just the two. That's what we've done in the past. But there is the board's option, discussion with the superintendent, to change that to more at a lesser amount. I mean, we can manipulate that as we desire.
How many teachers are eligible this year?
About 11.
Oh, God.
Well, 11 are at the very top of the matrix eligible. Probably a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Because there's some criteria on the retirement incentive of 25 years and, a couple other criteria there.
Yeah, I have not added it. I can get you those numbers. I would say over 20 for sure. There's 11 people that are maxed out on our matrix. So they are closer to 30. They're around 30 years.
Okay.
So is there a motion?
I'll move to approve two retirement incentives of $15,000.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to approve the two retirement incentives of $15,000 each. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passed. Approve paraprofessional hiring bonuses.
We need to table this one. I have a few more conversations to have before
Okay.
we're ready for you guys to approve that.
Approve video cameras to be equipped with sensors that alert school officials of substance use.
So this is in regards to the policy that is also below. But in order to begin using the device we are discussing is a vape detector, and I'll let Joe speak to the technical part of it here in a moment. But in order to use that technology, substance detection in the school, the board needs to approve it. We also need to approve the policy. We also need to notify families, and we need to post notice on our doors, our entrances to the building, as well as entrances to the restrooms or locations of the vape detectors, so that they're in use. Well, the whole,
It'll push them out somewhere else.
They're idiots, they'll do it.
They'll do it.
my goal is not necessarily to catch the kids, but to keep them from vaping here. So hopefully it is a good deterrent. I think we have 2 vape detectors.
Yeah.
If you want to speak to those, Joe.
That were basically given on loan for the experiment, like we can test them for 30 days, and then after 30 days, they become an expense. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me to tell you how much they cost offhand for purchasing these devices. And then after that, there's a subscription-based model that they are a part of. And so the way it works is you place your vape detector in the bathroom that you want to monitor, and then outside of that bathroom, you very strategically place a camera so that it's not looking into the bathroom, but that catches the person walking out of the bathroom. And when the device detects a vape in the bathroom, it triggers the camera to record the very first person that walks out of that bathroom and then notifies administration immediately, or whoever's on the list. They're made by the same company that makes the cameras that we have here. They're used throughout the state. They've had pretty good success with it.
So the only dilemma, I guess, after you said it that way is, I mean, what do we do when there's a group of kids in the bathroom? One individual causes the detector to go off, maybe he's not necessarily, he or she, excuse me, may or may not be the first one that walks out.
That's a fantastic question. That's something the administration is going to have to handle.
So the policies attached to the video surveillance policy here that you'll see are listed as well, are the search and seizure policies. So what the plan would be to grab that group of kids as quickly as possible and ask them to turn their pockets out and see who has the device.
So does it trigger something to the administration as well as the camera? So they are getting that instant, okay.
Correct.
To
And you
get
can-
this,
Yeah, you
those
can send it to
pictures.
email, you can send it to, send a text message directly to administrators involved, and then from there, and it will actually send the clip to the administrators at that point too, I believe.
What are you doing?
But there is a purchase price and there is a subscription
Price as well,
Well-
yes.
So basically, we have a 30-day from whenever we install it
Correct.
to determine.
And in my conversations with MTSBA, if we walk in the restroom and see a cloud of smoke, for example, that can be enough probable cause to engage in a search or ask the kids to show us, to turn their pockets out, that kind of a thing. Or if the vape detector goes off, that also gives us that probable cause. So that's kind of the point of it.
So, yeah, I guess I'm of the mind that, as long as we have a trial period, there's probably no sense not to explore the technology, and at that point, before we make the financial obligation, decide whether that is worthwhile or not.
And currently, right now, there's several of the bathrooms that we're looking at, or administration's looking at, have cameras that are relatively close to those bathrooms as it is. So there wouldn't need to be any extra expenditure for cameras at those locations currently. It's just gonna be a matter of Luke and myself running cable to those locations, which we have plenty of.
Okay.
Misbehavior's escalating, it's happening a lot. I've actually had the student council for the high school come to me and say, are we going to try to use some of the, vape detectors and things like that? Kids are tired of it. It's quite a bad problem. It's not just the high school, it's a lot in middle school as well, so.
And there are other devices out there that are less expensive than the Verkada model. The benefit of using the Verkada vape detection, obviously, is we already have cameras that work together in unison with them. But there are other avenues we could pursue as well.
I'll move to approve the mechanical upgrades for the middle school as presented.
I wrote the wrong thing there, Vanessa. I apologize. I didn't change the motion on that one. So move to approve the video cameras with the vape sensors.
Okay, I'll move to approve the video cameras equipped with the vape sensors as presented.
I think I heard a second.
I think that was Kevin. Todd seconded.
So it's
Okay,
been
thank
moved
you.
and seconded to approve the installation of video cameras and the vape sensors as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Call for trustee election.
Okay, Todd Olson and Kevin McDonald are up for re-election this year. So the board will need to call for a trustee election.
I'll move to approve the trustee resolution calling for the election.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the trustee resolution calling for election. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Approval of the high school roof bid.
On February 7th, we had a bid opening for the high school roof project. We received 3 bids that afternoon. Holting did come to the bid opening as well as our chairman, and the bid tab is included if you'd like to take a look at that, and I will turn it back over to Jason.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys had a chance, but I did forward the actual contract late this afternoon. The contract looks very similar, if not identical, to the one that they used for the middle school and the library that is in the process of finishing up. We were very excited to get 3 bids. They did have to extend the date. Originally we tried to limit it to just the summer months, and they basically were told nobody would bid it because it was just too tight of a time frame. So they did allow them to go into the fall, I think to October, if I remember correctly. But they figured at that point, all of the really noisy parts of it, as far as taking the rolls up on the roof and dropping them, all that stuff that would hinder school should be done. Obviously, it probably won't be 100%, but they figured that was the only way we were going to get a bid in order to get this project done, because of course the insurance company is really antsy to get this done, from the time that hail claim was first filed. So yeah, K&K Roofing out of Butte was the winner. A&E and Holting went back through and fully vetted, made sure everything was on par with the bid and what the expectations were. So that is the bid. And I forgot my other sheet, but we did, by breaking this up, I don't know if you remember that the original bid to do all of it at once was like $1.9 million. And we broke it into the pieces. And by doing so, and as things have changed in the construction market, the combination of the 2 projects is going to be closer to 1.4, 1.5. So we did see significant cost savings by breaking this project into 2 pieces. And if no questions, a motion?
I just have, Jason, I have one question on the bid form. There's some unit costs. What do those represent? Does A&E have any projections on what the actual cost of those will be? There's like a unit cost for insulation.
That is in case as they peel the roof back, the old roof, they find damage. They wanted to have a cost in there so that they didn't have to take a bunch of time to come up with a proposal. So mostly that is there is as they peel the old roof back, if they find water damage, if they find insulation that has to be replaced, that they already know what that cost is going to be so that they can just fix it and keep going.
Okay. Is there enough what's the contingency on that in case there is some of that?
That I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay. But the insurance would probably cover that, I would imagine?
Yes, it should.
That would be a part of the claim?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
We did discuss, Kevin, it was kind of interesting that the numbers were quite varied on some of the alternates and the additional prices.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and then, like Jason said, we did go with K&K, the low bid. And we were excited to
They're a
see.
good company. I worked with them this summer.
Oh, great. Yeah, we're excited to
they're a
see a
good
new
company.
company bid in there for us. So, any other, oh, sorry, it's your turn.
Nope, you're good. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the bid from K&K, in the amount, what's the final amount?
It'll be that 786,992.
In the amount of $786,992 for the high school roofing project.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bid from K&K Roofing in the amount of $786,992 for the re-roof of the high school this summer. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passed. Approved teacher of the deaf contract with Brittany Graham.
Okay, so I apologize, I do not have the actual contract yet. So I did type up some different language for a potential motion, so I'll share that with you here in just a second. But if you look at the documents included, I did ask our team to do some research. So Macy, our lead interpreter, she's here most of the time, and then we have a couple of other interpreters that help out for the days that Macy cannot be here. And we also work with Katie at MSDB, and Brad and his team meet with them quite a bit, and with the parents in IEPs. And it has been identified that an interpreter is not helping, having an interpreter is critical for the student, but there's also more needs that a teacher of the deaf can provide. And so we wanted to find out, if there's anyone available in the area, if there's anyone available through an online program, what kind of costs there were and programs were out there. So Miss Hanson and Macy did some research, and they found Brittany Graham in Belgrade, who has a day a week open right now, or an hour to 2 hours and open right now a week, which would be ideal. So this is to help make sure that the content, the curriculum is accessible to the deaf students. So they help modify the curriculum to make sure that there's not language barriers for the student to access the material, which will help the middle school teachers out a lot. And also they will work with the student on building their language. So I thought that her rate of $40 an hour was really reasonable. And with her being in Belgrade, she could come in person. She'll do it virtually on a day-to-day basis, but if there's testing or things of that nature, she would be able to come over. So we were really excited for this option. If you look at the other options, they're quite a bit more, and they're big companies out of state. So we would like to begin working with Brittany. So I would ask for a motion to approve the contract of Brittany Graham as a teacher of the deaf if we are in agreement with it upon receipt. So approve the contract with Brittany Graham if we are in agreement of it upon receipt. Does that work for you, Todd? So if we agree with the terms of the contract when we receive it, we can get going with her. I don't want to lose our spot.
We're talking about a conceptual approval, basically.
Yes. And I'm
yeah.
assuming her contract will be similar to the ones of the interpreters I shared with you.
Well, you're
Yeah,
going to have to bring the contract back to the board anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay.
for
Yeah,
ratification.
yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Okay, is there a motion?
Who cares?
I'll move to approve the contract of Brittany Graham if we're in agreement upon receipt.
Thank you.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Brittany Graham if conditions are agreed upon when receipt of actual contract. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Moving on to personnel, we have some resignations.
We have the resignations of paraprofessional Jenna Frazier, paraprofessional Elizabeth Altanova, and we just received today Sydney Forey's resignation from the after-school program. So I would request those 3 resignations be approved: Jenna Frazier, Elizabeth Altanova, and Sydney Forey.
I'll move to approve the resignations of the paraprofessionals, Jenna Frazier and Elizabeth Altanova, and Sydney Forey from the after-school program.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignations of paraprofessionals Jenna Frazier and Elizabeth Altanova and after-school program participant Sydney Forey. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment.
All right. I do have, okay, never mind. I'll start with just saying them. Okay, so state reporting specialist and lead elementary secretary. So that new job description is available, and I will ask the board to review that upon your approval of hire. And Allison Fiera has put in for that position. This will include the ELC grant reporting that Kate Humphrey used to do for us, as well as title reporting, as well as our AIM, for example, our spring count that just occurred. Allison stepped up and took that on. So we do have a new list of duties, and with the traffic at the office and the growth that we've had, there's 2 other secretaries in the office, or office aides in the office. So this person will manage the office aides of the elementary office. So I would recommend Allison for that position. Part-time administrative assistant and substitute, Donna Cutshaw. We had a great interview with her. She's got a lot of experience and skills. We have some holes that we've tried to fill since Melinda left us with, and we still need some support in ASAP and the radio and in my office as well. So she would be doing part-time administrative assistant work. Some of that we haven't filled from the past. Paraprofessional and substitute Megan Osborne. Megan has a lot of great experience in management and banking, and has her own children, and was just eager and excited to come be a part of our team. Her family is newer to town, so we're excited to have her. Assistant tennis coach Tyler Patrick. Junior high golf coach Dan Hazlett, junior high golf coach Jesse Swinson, substitute Jamie Santee, and we are still looking for a driver's education instructor. You either have to be a certified teacher and take credits towards your traffic education endorsement, or if you have a lot of experience in the field, there is a different avenue towards getting a class 4 license, which we do have a community member looking into. So I have heard from 2 folks that are potentially interested in the driver's education instructor position. So I would move to approve the hires as I would request that you approve the hires as presented pending background checks, of course.
Susie, there's one on Jenna Fraser's resignation. She had also asked to be a substitute. So we want to list her as a substitute list.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that.
And for clarification, the driver's ed instructor, just summer, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Presently just the summer.
Mhm.
I'll move to approve the hires as presented, pending background checks.
I'll second.
Could you repeat that, please? I didn't hear that.
I would move to approve the hires as presented pending background checks.
Okay. I have a question on the driver's ed. Is that just for the regular school year? Is that summer program or?
Yeah, thanks for the clarifying question. Sherry asked that as well. It's currently open for summer.
Oh, just for the summer one?
Yeah, Alan Severide did resign from the summer program position. I'm not sure if he would still be interested in the school year position or not.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the hires as presented pending successful background checks. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passed.
And for the record, we also need a motion to approve the resignation of Jenna Fraser as a substitute as well. Isn't that what you said?
No, she wants to be added as a substitute.
Oh, okay, for employment.
Yes, so she wants to be a substitute.
And you said that,
That's the
so,
way I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
So I have her included.
included
that
in the
list.
group.
Yep.
Perfect, never mind.
Yeah, she wants to be a substitute.
Aha, okay, good deal.
Okay, policy review, policy 3235.
Okay, so you reviewed this policy, and we added the language necessary for utilizing the vape detectors in the board policy meeting. And this, so you've recently read through this, but this will allow us to be on our second reading and implement the policy here at the school. Any questions on the policy?
If not, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve policy 3235 on second reading.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 3235 on second reading. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passed. Superintendent contract. So I will go ahead, Todd and I did meet with Superintendent Headland as well on the same night as we met with the certified staff. Contract is included in your packet. We agreed to a one-year contract, so taking us through the 2023-2024 school year at a negotiated salary of $94,000. Good discussion. Everybody felt comfortable with the contract, so that is what we are presenting to the board.
I'll move to approve the superintendent contract for the 2023-2024 school year.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent contract for the 2023-2024 school year. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. Looking at section 2.1 of the contract, talks about the duties as described in our policies. Since
It's probably just always been like that.
Are they frozen in time?
He's frozen.
He needs to refresh his page.
Refresh, Todd, refresh.
He just did a second ago. There he goes. He just
There he
left.
goes.
Coming back in.
17 Zoom the other day. I had to get out and get back in.
Mind you, 2019.
He's working on it, I'm sure. Leave me hanging right in the hot seat. I'm gonna guess he's gonna want us to make sure that these are the correct policies under our policy revision, but I'm not sure.
There he goes. There he is.
Okay, Todd, we got you back. I think you need to start from the beginning. We didn't hear anything.
All right, thank you. My apologies. I don't know if I forgot to pay my wireless bill or what. My question is, section 2.1 of the contract talks about the duties described in district policy numbers 6110, 110P, 6121, 6122, so on and so forth. And my question was just, since we are going through our policy overhauls, are all of those numbers still accurate? The internal references to the policy numbers.
I was right, Todd, just so you know. I guessed that's what your question was. So I can surely ask Chris to ensure they're correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a make or break thing, but just in the spirit of accuracy, wanted to make sure that we're not referring to a policy that we would have repealed in our last couple of work sessions.
Right. Thank you.
That was the only question.
Okay. Any further discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passed. All right, moving on, principals reports.
So first off of these, we are applying for the 21st Century Grant. That opened up a couple weeks ago. It is due tomorrow. So we're on the end run of that. So see what we can do with that one. The ELO grant was submitted a couple weeks ago. That one gives us, if we get it, gives us $15,000 for this semester, and then $15,000 for summer. This is basically a branch off of ARP, which ended at the end of December, which gave all of our families either free or a really reduced rate of after-school care and funding to cover the program. So we're supposed to know today whether we were awarded that grant. So I was kind of hoping we would have seen that. I'm hoping we do get that though, so we can keep going with what we've had and provide that service to our families and those students.
Did you say what that name was, or what is that?
The ELO,
Is that an acronym?
Yep, that's an acronym. It was, do you remember Susie, learning, it was.
No.
I'm trying to remember. They've got so many acronyms anymore on these after-school grants.
Learning opportunity.
It was learning opportunities, I know that with ALO, I just can't remember what extended or what it was on the EE. STEAM night, we had our cattle, crops, and country theme. We had quite a large attendance with a baked potato bar. We had things from wool weaving, cow milking, butter making, cattle brand making, to cow's digestive system, quite an array. It was different this year as normally in the old school, we were quite crowded and you could see a lot more people, and this time it felt like we didn't have as many people there, but we did. It's just, we had so much more space with all the flex space in the classroom, so it was really nice this year. It just held a lot more people there. But we had a great attendance with that. Our parent luncheons we brought back this year. With COVID, we hadn't had them for a few years. And so we've had kindergarten and first grade in the month of January, our family luncheons, I should say. And unexpected, we had a large line for both of them going around the building for our luncheon. So it was a great turnout. It was really neat to see, and a lot of families then joined them outside as well. So it was nice to have that back. And we have our second grade luncheon coming up on February 21st.
Yeah, the luncheons were impressive. It's always exciting when you get more than you're expecting for parent turnout. And some of the folks I talked to were, even said that was the first time they'd seen some of the parents at our school and got to meet some of the families. So nice job on that. It was cool to see
Yeah, we had a lot of
families eating together. Yeah.
There's parents' sides that I had never seen before, so it was nice to see them. So it was really nice to finally meet people in person instead of just hearing about them.
Yeah, I would just add to the STEAM night, just because I did show up just to watch and see how the space that, we got to use for the first time was utilized. And, it was fun to see that the elementary school that we built and those flex spaces, and to have that many people in and to see that. So there was a good crowd, good turnout. Kids, parents seemed like they enjoyed it, but it was a nice opportunity to really see the adaptability of the spaces that we created and how they used them. Anything else? Mr. Ross?
Behavior code field trips occurred last week for the 7th and 8th grade. The final one will be the 6th grade ski trip tomorrow. Hopefully there's some new snow up there for them, and it should be a great day. It's supposed to be, relatively warm. But yeah, we had a good turnout, and we did some different things this year with the 7th and 8th. Took them to Helena. For quite a while, we've gone to Bozeman with the group that did not want to go skiing, and did the rock climbing wall and some other things down there. And this time we did the trampoline park in Helena and the bowling alley in Helena. They were fantastic to work with, and I could not recommend those two places enough for people that are looking to get their business out there to somebody, because they were very accommodating and it was a fun day. Been trying to do some follow-up with the PD, and the teachers have also, the professional development that we had our last PIR day. I've seen some positive things with the teachers as far as the differentiated learning that we had a speaker come and speak to the teachers, and as I've gone around the classrooms, I see some of the things in action that teachers that were suggested that day, and it's had some good conversations with teachers following that. So that's always good to see. It's nice sometimes when you do professional development, you'll see some great things or hear great things, but they're not always actionable immediately, or things that teachers can quickly put into action without a lot of prep or board training or something like that. So it was great to get some suggestions that you could take immediately to the classroom and start seeing in action. So it's been good. That was a very, the lady did a very excellent job speaking to us. Last night in our strategic planning, I talked a little bit about advisory and some of the challenges we have. Been working with the lunchroom staff to allow us to, we do advisory after lunch on Fridays. As I told you in the past, we've always had a designated period for it. We no longer have that, so we just try to carve that time out of our regular class period. Well, it takes a lot out of, especially if you have a core class every Friday after that, which, 2 of the grade levels do. So they've allowed us to kind of work it to where we can bring kids in 10 or 15 minutes early to lunch. We kind of let them out a little bit on the front side of lunch, maybe a little earlier, cut their recess short, and then go into advisory. We've only done it for 2 weeks now, but it's been good. We have a lot more time to do the things we want to do with those kids and those groups. So that's been a good change, and appreciate the lunchroom staff working with us on that. They're always really good with when we have to make changes. And I just appreciate you guys considering the vape detectors. I think it's a good change for our school, and I think it's something that we need. So thank you for that.
On those advisory, how many kids, like what size of groups, or how many kids does that involve?
Every student in the school, yes, we do. So the way our advisory works, they are assigned to an advisor as a 6th grader, and the teacher keeps you stay with that one all the way through the middle school. And so as the 8th graders leave, we add a new batch of 6th graders to them. And unfortunately, it's been, we just have our core middle school staff to do it with, and it's, we used to be able to have fairly small groups. Those groups have gotten larger as our middle school has grown. So they're pretty large groups, but we do it with every student, and they stay with that group through it. And we do some character education things. So we have advisors work in pairs to come up with a theme for the month and suggested lessons that we can do during that time. And then we try to do some partner activities, at least one of the Fridays, where they get with another advisory and do some games. And then we try to do some type of community service thing one of those Fridays. So a lot of times that ends up being just, like picking weeds at the football field and doing those kind of activities, cleaning up trash. In the past, when we used to have a little more time, we went downtown and picked weeds on Main Street and worked with the DUI task force on some community cleanup stuff. But yeah, we do a lot of different things to them. We used to send kids down to the food bank and to a couple different places to do things. But it kind of got to be tough to do that. But yeah, we try to do some things to give back to the community is what the whole purpose of it is supposed to be character education.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to start off by giving a big congratulations to our speech and drama team. They have finished their season since our last board meeting. Once again, Coach Buckham, and with the addition of Coach Lampman this year, had a phenomenal year. The drama team took first place at state. Fantastic job. Several placers in state throughout the entire conference, and we did wind up with 2 slots of state champions. We have Will Lind and Cooper Hines are our state champions in humorous theater. And then we had Riley Rouser become our state champ in pantomime. And to kind of follow up with that, they did a showcase at the lodge. I don't know if some of you I think were able to make it. And just want to thank Pat Plattenberg and Rotary for working on those things in the lodge, for hosting that. It's kind of a fun opportunity to go see those kids do a lot of their pieces at one time, because when you're on a speech and drama meet, it's virtually impossible to watch them all. I've tried, I don't think it can be done because they're all going at the same time in different locations, and it's really difficult. But so shout out to them. They've had a great, fantastic run again. And a big congratulations to our wrestling coaches and wrestling team on another good season. We ended up with one qualifier for state, and Walker Spurlock wrestled his face off and had a great run this year as a senior. So we're always appreciative of what those programs give our students. And if you're on Facebook at all, check out Emma Spurlock's piece that she posted about it's not just a sport. It was incredible about how much these activities really mean to these kids, and how they help them develop into pretty amazing human beings, regardless of what the activity is. So always an important part of our high school experience are these extracurriculars. Our student council also hosted their very first blood drive. TV station from Hellenhaven came out and did an interview with them about their first experience. Several of the kids donated blood, and several of the community members came and also donated blood. It went very well. They exceeded their goal, and I think it's really lit a fire. They want to keep continuing to do this as a community service project. So I imagine we'll see at least one every year, and potentially two. They'll expand that out. So really a cool project for them. Today we actually had we had an FCCLA student for part of her state project that she'll present here in a few weeks. She hosted a Love Yourself event, and basically it centered on the idea of addressing and recognizing how important mental health is to teenagers and high school age students, and adults for that matter as well. She did a great job planning it all out. I think she learned a lot about how hard it is to host and plan and get all the details on an all high school event. That was a really good experience for her, and Ms. Reese did a great job helping her out as well. The entire staff participated this afternoon. We had a little hitch in our getting along. We were going to have a presenter come from Charlie Health in Bozeman to actually give a presentation about the importance of mental health for teenagers. And unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate, and she pulled off at Logan and said, I am not going to make it. Cars were sliding up everywhere. Big wreck by Three Forks, and she was driving on black ice, so she didn't make it. So we revamped, and we still did all of the breakout sessions. We had different stations all over both gyms. We did the entire high school, and there were all kinds of activities at these stations. Including I helped run a addressing negative self-talk station. They had little activities for all the kids to do, and lots of good feedback from the high school students. They really enjoyed that a lot, and the staff had a great time participating in that way with students as well. So kudos to all of those things going on in the high school. We already discussed the tech committee. By the time we meet next time, we had our Kakahashi Japanese students come in December. That reciprocal trip is happening, and they will be on their way to Japan when we have our next board meeting. So that's going to occur March 13th through the 21st. I believe we still have 9 students that are going to go on that trip as well. So lots of exciting things happening, and lots of trips as well. We are in the throes of the postseason. As you guys look at the activities, we're excited to be headed to district basketball starting Thursday. The boys, I gotta think this through here. The boys play, I think 4:30. The boys play at 4:30 on Thursday. The girls play at 6. And then there are tournament brackets posted on the website, on social media. They're everywhere to kind of follow tournament and what's happening with those games. We're looking forward to them having a great postseason. That's in Belgrade at the Event Center. Mid-quarter already of quarter 3, which seems insane, is Friday. We have next Tuesday on the 21st, 3 through 12 parent-teacher conferences coming up. It's after mid-quarter. All next week is National FFA Week. So our local chapter of our FFA has several activities planned for those days that we have going on through school there. And it will culminate into their big egg appreciation dinner on Saturday, the 25th. I know Miss Lockery has tickets for sale. I think you can contact the school to round up any of your tickets. I'm not sure if anybody else know where else tickets are for sale. Do you know, Jason? Might just be through the school here. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I guess I would bet the NRC office
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
Probably would quote me on that.
Yeah,
The
anybody
students
needs
have been
tickets,
selling
tell
them, I
the
know.
school. We'll find where they are.
Find a blue jacket.
What's that?
The blue jackets have been out selling them.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun activity for those guys. Hopefully we'll roll into divisional basketball in Billings the beginning of March. We do have the middle school science fair coming up March 8th. I'm sure lots of contacting will be going on shortly about getting some judges rounded up. And that's always a great event for our middle school. And then we'll finish up winter with some state basketball in Great Falls. And our BPA club will have their state competitions middle of March. All that's happening before our next board meeting. So again, rocking and rolling, lots of busy things going on.
One thing before we move on to yours, I forgot she gave me this close-up.
Oh,
We
yes.
need to approve that, but we don't have that on this agenda. And of course, it's gonna be really, really close
Yeah, I didn't.
prior to the next one. I mean, it's
Yep.
still before.
Right.
I don't know if there's something if you think we need to approve it before the March board meeting, or do you think that's okay?
I'm looking, they're headed right like that week or the week after, I
The
think.
board meeting's the 14th, it looks like.
They go the
Then you
19th.
18th.
Yeah, they fly out 18th or 19th, one of those days, yeah. So that'll be the following weekend. I don't know, this is usually just a formality. I feel like we've always supported the kids going to close up. They've raised their funds, they're registered, they're ready to roll, they have their tickets. So if you guys are comfortable with that, I don't know that there would be any.
You can
issue.
share it informationally and maybe give permission to proceed, and then we can officially approve it at the next meeting.
As Sherry indicated, I think it's a formality that needs to be done and approved by the board, but I don't foresee any reason that it would not be approved. Okay, all right, I forgot she handed me that just before.
Okay.
So now, Helen, take it away.
All right, I'm going to mainly stick to the budget overview for my report today. Everyone covered a lot of what we have going on in the school. Do you have?
I do have.
Okay. Oh, that's okay, I have plenty.
Okay.
And Kevin and Todd, I did email you guys my budget overview documents that I'm going to be sharing.
Yep, got them, thank you.
Okay. Would anybody else like a copy? No?
Sure.
There you go. So, Pam Watson helped me break it out and make notes in a format that was a little bit easier to read than the Black Mountain software generated reports, and also leave some notes for some area for notes for you guys. We can go further in depth on anything you think necessary, or of course I can meet with committees. But I wanted to go over this. So starting with we'll just go briefly line by line. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So general fund,
you'll see that we're past over halfway through with the year, and we're sitting good on our general fund. Transportation, Pam is working on. We're not quite sure. It seems to be off a little bit. So we are checking into that one, but still not too far off our target. Bus depreciation. I know that people have been asking about that with the age of some of our buses. And we cannot use the bus depreciation fund, from what I understand, to purchase a passenger van. So we have been asked that question. Hot lunch, we have a $55,000 balance. However, there's a potential that we still owe some money to US Foods, and Pam and Casey are working on that. Did you have any update on that?
That's actually US Foods billings. It has, I would say it's within $3,000 being caught up. It's in the late claims.
Okay.
We had a late statement balance show up late last night, but it's mostly reported.
Excellent. All right, so tuition, we have the budget there and then the balance. One of the things that Pam has helped me do is make sure that the folks that and the charges that are being charged to the tuition fund are aligned correctly. So you'll start seeing that budget go down quite a bit more because we have recoded purchases and staffing to that budget. Retirement is exactly about half, like we are through the school, or through the school year. Adult ed, we've been utilizing with the new programs. We have a ton of classes going right now, so that's pretty awesome. Driver's ed, the rental, remember we can carry over 20,000. So we will, last summer we fixed up the rental that the FCS teacher has been in the last while. And this summer we will work to spend that 5,000, potentially more, on the house that Coach Rao is in, that Mr. Rao is in. So we will do a walkthrough and see what we need to do over there. We have a new roof going on the rental over here, the FCS teachers rental, this spring. So compensated absence is used to pay out termination of vacation for classified staff. Metal mines, one-time funding from the mine that the district received. Technology, you can see we still have a good balance in there, but with our ESSER funds all spoken for and closing out, we want to be more careful because we did spend quite a bit of money. Also, we still have some remaining balance on the switches that we need to pay that may need to come out of the technology fund. So we've been careful with the technology fund. And we did get the carousel program going though. There's the flex fund, debt service, building fund. Pam's working on the reconciliation with the county still on the premium and on some of those. So they're approximate as we noted there. Building reserve, endowment, so the interest for the scholarships, the Meyer and McCarthy scholarships. The interlocal library has a healthy balance, as you can see. So then we go to the miscellaneous funds. The scoreboard's funding item has been closed out. We are working on spending down Carl Perkins. Title I, you can see half has been spent, the other half will be spent. On salaries, there was small amounts in there for parent involvement and the other students. This year was the first year we had to pay some of our Title I funding to other schools that had students of ours in Title I. The gym sound system, School to work, playground donation, that is remaining. You'll see there's another one on 253 down here further. So there's about $4,000 for playground. I've been thinking a lot about that area by the football field, and if we want to get it up to code, if kids are going to be playing on it during the football games and things like that. So something to think about. The Broadwater Educational Foundation grants, the VOED funds that we still have to spend. We have a good amount of money in the meals for backpacks. Town Pump has been very generous every year, and we've been sure to write thank you notes to them to support that cause. And then there's the other playground one I was talking about. We still have funding from PACS, so we're gonna renew that and get that up and running, get the new staff trained in that, and make sure everyone has all the materials they need. So we have a positive behavior program going in the school. The coronavirus relief fund was funding that came in very early on in COVID, and Pam helped me realize we have this funding stream. So Jim's going to go ahead and purchase filters. We were just talking in our construction meeting today about all the filters that need to be changed already, even in the even since we've had that construction project, we're ready for new filters to help keep our air clean. So we will spend that down to get filters. The rehab and blind services is for high school special ed use. Football sound system, I talked to Coach Rao about that today. He's aware that we have that, and he would like to get that ordered for next season. We spent out the targeted grant. We're waiting to hear on the second targeted grant. ELC grant 3 we've spent down. We did some extra duty stipends. We are paying janitor salaries, administrative salaries. This grant is also paying additional for that state reporting position. The school safety professional development grant, we will use some of those funds at our upcoming safety meeting and safety meetings until the end of the school year. We're also reimbursing the teachers that agreed to take the safety training courses that were on the OPI Learning Hub. More VOED CTE funds. Preschool is the IDEA Part B. Base limit increase payment. This is the funding that we got because of our A and B hike this year. So our increased enrollment in the elementary and middle school, we got this. And this is where the state said that it needed to be placed. We are planning on coming out pretty safe on our budget at the end of the school year from Pam and Casey's projections. However, if we are going to have a large supply order, this may be where that comes from to refurnish and get our supplies for next year. So with the additional teachers that we have added this year and the additional instructional materials we've had to purchase, we lost a little bit of that cushion in our budget. And that's the whole point of why we received this payment. So that is potentially going to be used for our supply order next year. The Valley Lodge Elementary Grant. Mr. Rock, do you remember this one?
Yeah, that's from the Masons Lodge. They donated that so that we could run the Books for Mike's program, and basically for many, many years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent. So,
Doing that every year.
okay. And then the radio station, we have for radio expenses, some of that will be taken for those traveling for the basketball tournaments that are doing the radio for us. Preschool tuition has been there from when there was preschool. The homeless holiday fund, This money was used to provide dinners and presents for families in need over the holidays, as well as to pay off student lunch accounts so far. So that was a very generous donor over the holidays. The flex administration, that is just money that people don't utilize in their flex account, and it has to stay in that area. U of M, it's money left from the dual credit program. There's a few other miscellaneous listed out there. Egg Day has a healthy balance. Cotter scholarships, Pepsi, Medicaid. Pam was able to get the Medicaid back up and running, so we are receiving funding in that area again. ELC grants 1 and 2. The first one was written for $45,000, the second for $50,000. One of them was tracked down. Pam tracked one of them down with the county, and we expect it this month. The other one was just located, I heard, and we'll hopefully get this spring as well. The ARP homeless we spent. ESSER 1 has been spent. There's a little bit of reconciling to do there because of the changes in the position. We overspent it a little bit because there was 2 codes for ESSER 1. ESSER 2 has pretty much been completed. And that's where we had the switches. But there is still some final payments on the switches to be made and some reconciling. So that will either come out of the tech fund or ESSER 3 potentially. And then the remaining ESSER 3 budgets will cover the professional development that we committed to staff, and it will cover some curriculum supplies, as well as our final payments, like we said, on the switches, and the HVAC system has been submitted as a cash request. So we will be pretty well closed out of our ESSER 3, which we need to be. So that time's coming up quick. So we are waiting here on the new ARP after school EELO. The ARP radio we have money to use for equipment there. After school summer camps, Mrs. Hartman had a great turnout this summer. They have some money remaining from the payments. And then indirect is the costs, the money that's associated. It's usually 2 to 3% of the grants that we write that can be used for administration. So for the clerk or administrator's salary for keeping the paperwork current on those grants.
That ARP after school one we already did.
Yeah, and I think that
That's one we already did. We're just waiting because I had to file all the reports. So we're just waiting for funds on that one. So that one's closed and done. The ELO.
Oh, okay, that one's not on here. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so the EELO is not on here. Okay. Any questions? Anything you noticed? Anything you want more details on?
Susie, I have just one quick question, more for the sake of recollection, since it happened more than just yesterday ago. When we approved our classroom expansion, the 2 new classrooms, pardon me, is that reflected, I guess if you want to call it the earmark, is that reflected in that building, the building fund codes 260? Is that the 390,460?
No, that would not.
Nope. What is the?
Which, can you recall? I thought we had 3. I thought we had flex, building, and
Metal mines.
metal mines. Okay, so I just know that we have kind of put for lack of a better term, a notation or an earmark about different things like that. And so seeing that there's a cash balance in metal mines of 173, that was what also caught. So, I mean, we've obligated those monies though, as a part of the classroom project.
Yeah, and that's not reflected on here because it'll be dependent on where we end up at the end of the project with the premium. And then the remainder that we need to pull from, you guys can take from Metal Mines Flex Fund or the building reserve.
Okay, so I had that. So that might be something though, I guess, since we've had remaining or put other allocations for money or earmarks in there, that might be helpful.
Okay, to make a
for
note.
us for the future, for, those things like Metal Mines, part of, phase 3, that kind of thing.
Right, I can add that note. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have a general question just about what is your feeling from the legislature about the A and B state funding? Any idea what direction that's going to go in?
Yes.
Or is it the increases in funding?
Yep, Casey has been working on that as well as Pam. Casey's been in a budget class doing projections for next year. And it looks like that we're expecting an inflationary increase as well as our increase from our increased A and B. So we are expecting a higher base budget to start next year, and they are working on some preliminary numbers. We just got the spring count certified and finalized, so they have been busy at work at that. So yeah, and it was good to see what the numbers looked like with that inflation and then with our increased A and B for sure.
Okay. Is there any increases in operational costs that you've seen from the construction project as far as energy costs or anything like that?
So
I know we had a pretty cold snap there for a while.
Yeah. Let me pull up my line item of that. And you know what I can also do is present that to the facilities committee or have that as part of my presentation at the next board meeting. But I was talking to Jason about that today. And so far on our budgeted versus actual, I haven't seen any major jumps on those services.
Do we have a facilities meeting scheduled?
We don't right now. So
I didn't recall one, so no, that's fine.
yeah, so on our oil, for example, we're 2/3. Electricity, we are also 2/3 of the way. So maybe just slightly higher. Water, we're down. We've only used 1/3. So it looks like we're doing pretty good on our plant operations. So like I said, 2/3 on those two, but only 1/3 on the water. So it should work out pretty good. We did increase those in the budget by $35,000, if you remember, planning for an increase. So it looks like it has worked out. So I'd be happy to share the plant maintenance page detailed voucher with you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Kevin, when you were asking about the increase in A and B count, were you asking about the percentage of increase over the inflation rate for each student? Is that what you were at, the legislation? Is that what you were asking?
No, I was asking if the legislature, I know they have a budget surplus, if they were looking at increasing A and B overall
Oh, excuse me.
on the base, so.
The conversation I had with the governor's office education representative about a week ago was that they were going to distribute it kind of like they did with the ESSER funding, most likely, because I believe the surplus has to be tied back to COVID in a way. So it's money that OPI didn't get distributed or didn't use. And so it had to be returned to the governor's office. And now they're trying to figure out how they can give it back to schools. But
Okay.
I don't think they can do it through A and B.
Okay, so it wouldn't be something that we could use for salaries then? I mean, it's not a long-term funding source.
No,
It's
it
not
wouldn't
something
be.
you want to use on salaries. And actually what I had in mind is going forward with the certified negotiation,
Mhm.
you know, what types of increases we can offer there.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be that kind of funding, unfortunately. However, we did identify, we do have those curriculum needs. So maybe more in that kind of area, use for that. As far as salaries go, I think it will be important to keep in mind, of course, not saying that we don't want to have those teachers with lots of great experience and all of that, but that if, you want to look at those retirement incentives in a budgetary way in the future, if we want to look at how many teachers we hire, if classroom size, we talked a little bit about that yesterday at the strategic planning. And then, like I said, we will have an increase in our base budget due to the increased A and B. So it's just a matter of seeing how all of that pans out. So those are things that we're keeping in mind as we go into negotiations, or at least that I've been thinking about.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel Sean scolding me for not reporting on the strategic planning.
I should have had that on the committee reports,
I
and
know,
we did
I-
miss one of the items on the committee reports too.
Anyway, for those that weren't there, we did have our third strategic planning meeting last night. It was a good meeting. We kind of focused on the kind of per school, as in elementary, middle school, high school, looking at, what we examine, from within as the strengths and weaknesses, and had good conversations with everybody. And at the end, we broke into smaller groups, and now we'll take some of the collective information that's going out on the school website about educational and scheduling models. There's a lot of different information. If you haven't looked at it, hopefully you have some time to do that. But these individual groups will kind of dig deeper into those goal areas and try to match up some of those different educational models to what our goal areas are, and also thinking about those strengths and weaknesses and how they all kind of work together as we move forward. Sean's going to put out a schedule kind of the next meetings coming up, but I know we talked about March 13th last night. That's no good. I don't know if we could try to set a tentative date for that meeting. I know it's important to keep that going and keep on task with that.
So that week is pretty tough.
We have, let's see. We have a couple of groups gone, but actually March 20th isn't too bad. I don't know if March 6th is too soon. We still have a lot of postseason stuff going on. The 20th actually, I think, would be, potentially better.
That would work
Just get through a lot of
from what I
those
see.
activities and all of that stuff going on. Because obviously, I think we need to schedule with with thinking about, we want people to attend, obviously, from the school, from the community, whatever. So if we're scheduling up against really busy weeks, I think that might diminish. I think that might be what happened yesterday too, just a lot going on this
The
week.
only thing is you don't have your community room because the book fair.
On March 20th? We don't do the book fair on March 20th, do we?
Right there.
Oh, that's really early. We usually do that in May.
It's got our book fair right there, book fair there.
Maybe we could do it in a different location, like the elementary commons or something. I don't know, just a thought. We could do the 6th.
We have negotiations that night.
Oh, okay.
How about another, I don't know, like the 9th, later in that week?
I won't be available tonight.
It's all of the, it might be state basketball and
Okay. Well, maybe.
and all those 2 back-to-backs are, that's another thing that was a school board meeting me on the 14th. That's, it's a tough 2 late nights for everybody, plus all the other stuff going on.
So maybe let's do the 20th, and we may have to look at doing it in the Commons or some other location. Does that sound like it works?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, Todd, does the 20th work for the next strategic planning meeting?
Yeah, I can make it work.
Okay, all right, I will let Sean know, and then he'll adjust his other schedule from there, but we'll plan on that 4th strategic planning meeting, March 20th. Location to be determined, but probably in the Commons in the elementary is a likely scenario. So at that point, those small groups will come back together with that information. Everybody's working on the same information. We're just breaking it down, hopefully trying to make, smaller groups can get more done faster oftentimes than a big group can. So hopefully in the next month, those groups will do some work on those individual goal and objective areas, and that'll kind of be the focus of that next meeting. So stay tuned. There'll be some more information that comes out from Dr. Scott on that process, and appreciate all of those that continue to be a part of that. I think that is all I have. Appreciate everybody coming tonight. Just for the record, I did not deliberately put this meeting on Valentine's Day. Just the way the calendar worked
Scrooge.
out. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's